Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Yes.
Well, first of all, I'll just take a second and I guess introduce ourselves. As you can see our names on the screen. But I'm Tara, I'm the Director of Business Development with Mendability. Of course, you see Kim, who is our CEO and co-founder. And of course, Claudie, who is also our co-founder and guru extraordinaire. Claudie is our program director. So we all wanted to thank you for taking a few minutes to meet with us today and learn a little bit more about Mendability.
I wouldn't mind if you took a couple of seconds to introduce yourselves as well, and maybe give us an idea of the kiddos you have in your classroom and maybe your biggest concern for them, and all of that in just 5 seconds.
Okay, Jen, you're on.
I'm Jen I'm a PBI teacher, and I think the biggest thing that I would like to get out of it is just to do a lot more prevention. We're talking about getting rid of our comm room next year, so I want to know some other options that we can help teach.
You said a calm room, as in CALM room or
Yeah.
COM room?
Yeah, PBI is positive behavior intervention. So it's a seclusion room.
You know what?
When they get agitated, it's a padded room. And so we want to get rid of it. So
Yep, we're gonna record it.
Yeah.
You bet.
Okay.
Go to bed. Bye, Diana.
I like that goal.
yeah, and so I'm super interested to find out some other things so we can do a lot more prevention and teach the parents too.
Oh yeah.
You want to introduce yourself? Oh,
Hi.
wait, let's see.
I'm Casey. I'm the principal and the babysitter.
And then maybe
So,
Hi.
okay, Diana.
You see me? Hi, I'm Diana Johnson. I am the extended resource room teacher, and I have everything. I have anything from SLD to ASD to cognitive impairment, you name it, medically fragile, I got it all. So I'm always open and ready to learn everything and anything, and I'll take whatever I get out of it.
I love you.
Jam pack this with as much as possible.
Okay, Mel.
Hi, my name is Melanie Free. I'm one of the paras at Sienna. I work with 2 basically non-verbal kiddos most of the time. So some tips and tricks for calming and focus would be awesome, but
And then Gail.
Hi, Gail Rupp. I'm a para here at Sienna, and I work with all kinds of kids, and I'm here to help implement the program.
And then we have Carol.
I'm Carol Wilson and I work with Ramona. I'm the special education supervisor for Sienna. So I'm just here to listen and take some info back to Ramona.
Okay,
good.
and, oh, sorry.
No,
One more. Go, Kim.
I was just saying, sounds good.
We got one more.
I'm Sandy Wheeling. I'm the speech language pathologist in this building, and so I have all kinds of kiddos too from both of the programs that are represented here, as well as some gen ed students who could use probably what I'm going to learn today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think too, some of our gifted and talented kids too, as well as
Oh, yeah.
anything. I think that would be helpful. We should have invited one of them.
We have a certain number
Okay.
that we're working with. Okay, I think that's it.
So we have more
Thanks.
participants in the meeting today than people who will actually be implementing the pilot.
And that's perfectly fine. In fact, the more people know about this, the more people spread the word, the better to me.
Mhm. Yeah, the more the merrier, honestly.
Absolutely.
It helps when everyone can understand what's happening and yeah. So welcome everybody.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now, and we can get this show on the roads. I tried to front load this present. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, we'll press the play button there. like I was saying, I tried to front load this presentation. So the first 5 minutes give you the condensed version of everything we want to tell you about. By the way, how long do we have?
5:15.
Okay. So we got maybe half an hour and then 20 minutes for questions.
Yes.
Perfect. The point of this presentation is to show what Christine and Ramona and I and Tara have been talking about possibly doing over the next few weeks. And so I want to make sure that we paint as clear a picture as possible so that you know whether this is something you're excited to try out with your students, possibly even which students to try this with or not. So don't hesitate to interrupt, ask questions if we need to clarify anything. We'll talk about what the program is, a little bit of the clinical evidence behind it, some sample exercises maybe for you to try. And then if we get to that point, a timeline, maybe if Christine, you want to show them that as well. So this is us, this is Mendability. The story starts a long time ago when Claudie decides to go to school to save the life of the people in her family. A lot of them were have had issues with neurological disorders, and so she went to school looking for something that would help the brain. And back then there was this brand new field of neuroscience called environmental enrichment, and they were looking at how experiences could have an impact on how the brain developed, how the brain worked. They were starting to realize that the brain is a lot more plastic than they thought. They used to think that until the age of 5, you had a chance to make a difference, but after that, you had the brain you had, and even worse, they used to think it would degenerate after the age of 18. So they were starting to change the landscape of how the brain responds to the environment. And what Claudie did was to take all of those protocols that were used in the animal model and translate them into hands-on activities to do with kids to help their brains develop. And so since, right now we've done this program with over 3,500 or so families. And while we were still focusing on helping families directly, 2 years ago, a school district in Texas approached us. They just had a big grant and they were tasked with revamping their autism program. And they saw our clinical data. They saw the randomized controlled trials that were done on our program. And they asked us to see if we could develop a program that would be adapted to the school environment, where you have a group of kids and a group of teachers, therapists, paraprofessionals, all sorts of people, all trying to collaborate on the well-being of the students. And so we started working with them on that. And it took us a while, and COVID hit and a whole bunch of things. But in September, they started this program, and within weeks, they started to see really cool stuff. And I'm going to share some quotes from them in a few minutes. But back to what this program is. So this program is a brain stimulation program. And so it improves a lot of different brain functions, from mood to behavior to motor skills to speech development. In the bottom right corner, you see some of the highlights from the randomized controlled trials that were done. All the kids did standard care, ABA, OT, speech, physio, and half of them on top of that did a layer of sensory enrichment, 5 to 10 minutes a day of those brain stimulation exercises. And on the CARS scale, the Childhood Autism Rating Scale, after 6 months, 42% had improved by 5 points or more on that scale. And only 7% had improved by 5 points or more. And so in the other study, in a replication study, they did another test. They re-diagnosed all the kids to see if 42% improve, how many of the 42% improve even more, so much more that they no longer qualify for their diagnosis. And they saw that 21% of the kids after 6 months no longer qualified for their original diagnosis. And so obviously that's super exciting. that's not just a little bit better, that's a whole lot better. And that's why that school district in Texas contacted us, say, can you bring this to our school program? What you see on the top right is what happens to the brain when you do our program. You know, you can see more connections, more nerve cells. This is what we want to do for the students. And the results, you know, they come in real life terms, no longer eloping. One of the kids had an ankle monitor, eloped every day, you know, every so often to get a call from the police saying, your kid is right here, you can come and pick him up. And then within a few weeks, it was gone. This eloping behavior, it disappeared. A kid who would have a complete meltdown if he didn't get exactly third in line when they left the classroom. One day just decided that it was fine to walk himself to the back of the line, and that was the end of that. And on and on and on. I mean, this idea of greeting each other by name, this is huge. It's not just that they would start using words, but they would start using social words, spontaneous words, not memorized stuff, not I want a cookie. It was, hi, Johnny, you know? And this is, I don't know, this is the kind of stuff that makes people cry, if you ask me. So the exercises, they're short, they're fun, they're hands-on. It's stuff you do with the kids one-on-one if you want, if you have the time and the resources to focus on children one at a time. If you want to pull them out and spend 10 minutes with them and bring them back in and pull out the next guy, or you can do them in group sessions. And there's a cute picture here taken from, it's a long story, but these are kiddos trying some of the toys that Claudie designed for a daycare center, where they have a path with a bunch of different textures that the kids could walk on. And we can easily replicate that in a schoolroom with just lining up, you know, a few different pads of different things, and they can go in line. So that's what the exercises are. And before I pass the buck, the floor over to Claudie to explain some sample exercises, one more thing I want to say is that we will provide you with an app on an iPad, and that app will tell you what to do, when to do it, with a video demonstration and exercises and a list of the materials you will need to get those exercises done. You do the same activities for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on how you want to rotate through that schedule. And yeah, I think that's about as fast and as much as I could explain. Do you have some questions?
Oh, yes. I just had a question. Well, actually I have two. So where do the exercise materials come from? Is that something that we would work with you guys on and create our own here, or?
Excellent question. What part of the service we provide is an equipment audit. So we'll go into your storage room and see what you guys have. And when we put together a program for your students, we'll work as much as we can around the equipment that you have. If there are some exercise we want to give you that, and you don't seem to have the equipment, you're probably looking at a budget of $50 per classroom, you know, and it was designed around typical household items. So bowls, spoons, texture pads. If you've got occupational therapists or speech and language pathologists in the team, they probably have a whole bunch of knickknacks that you can steal. Don't tell Sandy I said that. Oh, I bet she's hearing that. I didn't say that, Sandy.
She's still here.
I heard that.
Yeah. And then the second question that I had is, will the app be generalized or individualized? With the,
all right, it is individualized to the group.
Okay.
It can be individualized all the way down to the student. It depends on how involved you want to be with this. Most school districts opt for a hybrid program where you group kids by however you want to group them. It could be a whole classroom or maybe 2 or 3 different subgroups in a classroom. And whatever group you give us, we will design a program for that group, whether it's 1 student, 3 students, or 10 students in that group.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
So by now you probably want to know what those exercises actually look like. So this is where Claudie, you tell them.
Yeah. So all the exercises that you're going to see today, you're going to see only 3, and the many more that will come to you are redesigns of protocol that have been demonstrated as doing this or that on the brain. And my contribution was to make them feasible for children. There was quite a lot of research showing that the sense of smell improves the production of one key messenger in the brain, which is called dopamine. Most of you must have heard of it. Dopamine is memory, motivation, good mood, control of movement. All of those would make the child more attentive, less fidgety, or less running without purpose. So smelling is very important in our therapy. In this particular exercise, we do 2 things at the same time. We are smelling, so having an olfactory activity, we're increasing production of dopamine for the child. And at the same time, he is just feeling random textures. The title says, smell while feeling 4 textures. It can be 6 or it can be 3. And textures, as Kim said, I know that the OTs have gazillions of things that could be used, but even in the classroom, like 2 sponges, face up and face down, a piece of cardboard, a tea towel, always looking for things that you have already and are simple. The concept, the purpose of that is 2 things: improving the biochemistry of the brain, which for us is where everything starts, the good stuff and the less good stuff, and increasing serotonin production. Serotonin is the other hormones that we work on, hopefully, in an increase. And soft touch shows that it's been shown to increase production of serotonin in the brain. It's crucial because there's no medication to do that. And a lot of kids on the spectrum with ADHD, with cerebral palsy, have been found to have very low production of both of those. So we can just simply increase it by doing this activity. It takes sometimes half a minute because we are not teaching a skill. We are prompting the brain to do a better job by doing every day that very short activity. And the brain takes 13 milliseconds to process an information. So as soon as the child has the scent close to his nose, it's already happening. And so very short, very easy. Initially, the kids will be resisting the smell. So we always recommend don't use a vial, use a cotton ball, maybe in a Ziploc, or things that are familiar to the children. We know that a lot of kids with developmental delays don't have a sniff response to smells. So they are surprised when you bring that, but gradually we see that their brain wants to process this, and it takes usually 1 or 2 weeks before the kids are really sniffing. Now that's for the first one.
Do you want to show the 1 minute demo video, or?
Well, yeah, it will not make a big difference. Like,
Yeah, 'cause
there's not a lot of motion in it.
This is one of my kids who's a perfectly quiet, compliant actor. Your version of this exercise is probably never going to look like this little kid, sitting
Smelling while
quietly
feeling 4 textures.
and just,
4 textures.
enjoying the smell and
A
rubbing the
pleasant fragrance.
textures.
Line up the textures left to right in front of him. Present your pleasant fragrance to his nose. He inhales it deeply while feeling the textures.
But one good thing that this
The
video
objective of this
does
exercise
is that it shows you the type of video demonstration that you will get on the app. So when the app says smell, we're feeling 4 textures, then you'll get, the materials, the preparation, how, how to prepare it and how to actually implement a protocol, and then a video. All of every exercise has a video that goes with it. Any questions about the smell and beautiful textures?
I do. This is Diana. My question is for the smell, how many different fragrances do you introduce? Or do you do like one fragrance at a time? To stimulate the brain, or what fragrance do you recommend?
Yeah, that's a question that really a lot of people ask. And what we know as far as science is concerned is that any pleasurable scent. So you can even make that one for your classroom. For example, you peel an orange and you squeeze that peel into a tissue and poof, you have a scent of orange that is totally natural and free. So there's no recommendation. It's what you can do in the classroom, what the children would enjoy. There is a little bit of research on the impact of, for example, lavender, orange, lemon, and vanilla, as well as strawberry. Those three, the only thing that was studied is how fast do they reach the amygdala and improve behavior, and also having a calming effect. That's not always true for lavender, but it's always true for the 4 other ones if the children like it. But there's not an important factor in change or variety. Very often the kids call the exercise the orange game because the parents is always using an orange smell. So smelling something that smells nice, and it could be the pack of cookies or really anything.
Well, I have a student that is obsessed with the smell of different shampoos.
Voila, that's really
That's cheap. And it's easy. Plus, what's nice about shampoo is they have like kind of squeezable plastic, and you kind of you can puff it in the air, kind of close to their nose. You don't have to, because putting anything close to anybody's face is a bit of an intrusion on their space, and they might recoil from that. So, but if you can be, safely away from their face and puff, they're bound to smell it.
So this the second exercise I tell the parents of the pro, and then the kids get a job in a circus, is basically an impossible activity. It is not possible for humans to walk on a very narrow surface with arms up. So that's the purpose of holding a ball. It's in fact to prevent arms on the side, which is what we would spontaneously do. So that shows a little bit how we work. We tell the brain, I want you to do that. And gradually, by trying every day, and trying very often is just standing in front of it and thinking about it, because really no one can take several steps except for Kim's son, Tim.
Yeah, do you want to show the video?
Yeah, go for it.
A 2x4, 8-foot-long plank of wood, a basketball. He places the ball on top of his head and holds it there. He steps onto the plank of wood and slowly walks to the other end, 1 foot in front of the other.
Just so there's a really cool story about my son. After being the model for all those videos, and we have 500 of those, and it takes several takes, so you can imagine it took months of very intense enrichment. Well, he's a national figure skating champion now.
Oh, wow.
You wonder where he got the skill.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
France.
France, okay.
That's where the accent comes from.
I knew there was a French accent.
She's Canadian. She's got the French Canadian.
Yeah, it's a different one.
Yes.
So you can imagine how much growth needs to happen in a brain simply to even tolerate the concept of standing on or walking. He makes it look easy. It is not easy. It's impossible. But trying every day, as I was saying, this is what makes the brain change. Trying something that is impossible. And our brain is malleable, and experimentation, experiments, and experiences is what makes it different. Even if the kid never do the whole walk, because they try, their brain will build new connections. This is a fantastic exercise for the development of self-awareness. One of the issues we know, and there is another exercise we'll show you, we work on one part of the brain that is very specific, which is the bridge between the two sides of the brain. So our brain has left side, right side. They always have to talk
Oh, wait, I
high
think I have a
speed.
slide for that. There we go.
There. So that bridge has been found to be narrower in children on the spectrum, children with ADHD, but also adults with depression. Like there are a lot of issues related to what this part of the brain does. And neurologists would say, oh, I'm so sorry for you, where you know that environmental enrichment changes the brain. We feel, because of the experience we have seen, and even functional MRI we have seen of people doing the therapy for a while, the brain can build a better bridge. So these exercises, if you can imagine, and I had a little kid from Botswana today. I was talking to the mom, and she was saying, he did that and he did that and that. He's 3 years old. And she was really excited. And the worksheet she just did was a worksheet focusing on improving the flow of information between the two sides of the brain. And I had told her, once this one is done, he will be able to do the thing that you have taught him. And as teachers, as therapists, you work with determination to achieve, and all of it is there. And sometimes it just takes that little thing, the last little detail. And we feel that, and we have spoken with so many therapists. We have said that if they do a little bit of sensory enrichment before their own session, the child is paying more attention and it's more efficient, basically, sometimes. So that's the bridge we work on when we do this exercise in particular, but also the one right after. So we will need water. So we may send you
This
water
one?
if you don't have it. Yeah. Yeah, I like the joke about that one. And so the idea, if you listen to the video, that will show you how we do it, and then I'll tell you the purpose.
Okay.
4 bowls of water, too cool, too warm. Make sure the temperatures are not extreme. About 8 to 10 pennies. Place the bowls in front of him in a square, making sure that the temperatures match diagonally. Place 2 or 3 pennies in each bowl. Make sure that the temperatures are not extreme, not too hot and not too cold. He dips one hand in each bowl in the front row, retrieving 1 or 2 coins. He places the coins in the second row and retrieves additional coins, bringing them back to the first row.
I think I can explain starting from here if you want to stop the video.
Yeah.
The idea is, again, to help communication between the two sides. The contrast of temperature, even though it is so simplistic as it looks, is something we never do really in life. Most of us, we have our 2 hands in cold, our 2 hands in warm. We don't do warm and cold, and then cold and warm. So this contrast is processed through reflex messages to the brain. It's really quick, and almost more than instantly, the 2 temperatures go through the bridge, then to the top of the brain where the sense of touch is. And we combine a fine motor activity to that. So that fine motor command, which is done inside the 2 different temperature, is even more powerful to grow gradually a better ability. Picking up coins from a bowl with water is really difficult. And if you have that exercise, you'll see. But that again is growing slowly over 2 weeks, brand new abilities, brand new connection that could not be there because the experience had not been lived with the kid. most children really love the exercise. Sometimes it can be difficult when you start because they want to swipe the balls away. We have tips.
That was my question.
Uh-huh.
Like, how do you keep the bowls in the water in the bowl on the table?
Uh-huh. Well, the ultimate tip, if really that's not happening with some of your kids, is simply to have a wet cloth with warm water, a wet cloth with cold, and basically wipe the two hands at the same time. So we still have the contrast of temperature. You have to add sort of an additional, which is the feeling of the cloth, but we can still do it.
Yep.
So there you go.
I know, we'll start with that.
Uh-huh.
At the bottom left on your app, when you swipe the menu in from any page, at the bottom there's a help button. That help button initiates a chat with Claudie or me or anybody, whoever's available at the time, and you can ask a quick question. And we'll make sure you have, you probably all have mobile phones with you when you do this too, and so we'll make sure you have our direct lines so you can send us a quick text as well. So if you my kids are fill in the blank, please help. We get a lot of those.
We will have an iPad.
4 bowls of
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. There's a couple of other things that we could, how do I get out of this?
I have an extra iPad that is in PBI that can circulate.
I'm just joking.
No, she said. She wants to use her own iPad.
Can we use our Milo iPad?
So is that
Sorry,
question time, Kim?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you guys have questions, we'll go through those. There's a couple of other things that we have in mind to share with you. One of them is we'd like you to experience what it's like to do a sensory enrichment protocol. And the other thing is we'd like to show you how to handle a meltdown the sensory enrichment way. I thought that's a popular presentation. So we've got maybe 10, 15 more minutes of stuff, but I want to make sure that you had a chance to ask your questions. So Casey, Lonnie, do you have some questions for us?
If they have questions.
This is why I asked for your name at the beginning of the presentation. So I could point. This is a teacher technique right there. If the audience is not participating.
Mhm.
Carol, tell us.
My questions, I think, are more, maybe not, I don't know. Maybe my questions are important, maybe they're not. If you want to say Carol already knows the answers to all of these and she can talk to me later. What's the plan? I'm trying to visualize, like, we get this app, is there more training? Like, what's the rollout? What's the timeline?
Okay, let me share my screen. This is kind of, do you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and you see the screen with a timeline on it? Because I got 2 screens going. Okay, so you've got spring break coming up. And the idea would be to get everybody trained and set up and baselines and practice sessions ahead of spring break, give you a real spring break to relax, and then start the program when you start. And the program, so it's every day the same exercises for a couple of weeks or for 3 weeks. Then you get a new fresh set of exercises, transition to those new set of exercises. And that's what it looks like after spring break. Do you have questions for before spring break or after spring break?
In totality, this will be a year-long pilot.
Yes, so yeah, you're right. It goes till the end of the year for the first 6 weeks, and then we start again in September.
Through that year. And we're here, victory, and achievement.
Okay, so then another question that I have, I don't know if you remember, I'm the principal, so I'm the annoying one, no. I'm just sitting here thinking, for my special ed kids, amazing, right? The teachers are here. We can do what we need to do. But what about our non-special ed kids? Could we also include a couple other staff members that work with students that have behavior needs, but are not in the special ed program? Does it matter?
We just need to know who's going to be trained. And once you're trained, you can implement this with as many people as you want.
You can work with any student, like it's not students, we don't have to like enter student specific information.
That's right. Yeah. We didn't want to limit with our pricing model the number of student licenses. It's a teacher license. So
Okay.
whoever is paid for to implement this can implement this with as many people as they want to.
Okay.
And Kim, we had talked to our teachers beforehand about, this is Christine, about the idea for this program will be things like attention and focus and work completion, maybe. I can't quite remember what we talked about exactly, but those are going to be the focus of the program they're going to be giving us. So it would be different if we said explosive outbursts.
Yeah.
These are going to be all about focus and attention. Is that right, Kim? That's what.
Behavior regulation is going to be a major focus as well, because whatever you want to do and achieve with them, until they can feel comfortable and settled in the school, in a classroom environment, nothing's going to happen. So the first thing we're going to do is help them regulate their brain chemistry, which is going to have an impact in their ability to manage stress and process the environment and a whole bunch of things. And then, like Claudia said, we're going to work on their corpus callosum to make sure they can do more of the complex stuff. And then from there, we'll start to branch out and specialize into certain areas. But with those two foundations in place, a lot of the things that are difficult to do now are going to be a lot easier.
Okay, and to answer your question, for Sienna, we have 2 teachers and 4 paras that we're paying for.
Oh,
These 2 teachers.
need to be trained.
Yeah, so we could rule it out, but my question would be, how many times a day are we supposed to embed the sensory?
Good question.
Is it like 3 times?
Good
One.
question. It takes a minute or 2 per student, as you saw, right? Those 3 exercises, maybe you'd have 1 more, and that would be your therapy session. So you saw how quickly that was. Now you will have, in real life, you'll have to, coax kids and manage kids and wrangle cats. So it might turn into a 15-minute or 20-minute session for all the kids to go through the experiences. Do it once a day, so long as you do something. Some days you won't have the time, some days will run away from you. If you can do one of the protocols, their favorite ones or the quickest one, we continually nudge the brain in the direction we want to push it in. Ideally, in families, sometimes we get them to do it twice, but I don't think that's ever going to be practical in a school environment.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of results with once a day.
Yeah, it's true. The results we saw that I just quoted from with the other school district, that was 6 weeks into the program, right? And of doing it once a day, and not even perfectly consistently, if I want to be honest. There's a lot of compromising going on.
So you shared with us the smell and the touch, the boardwalk,
Yep.
and the water game, and how many other sensory activities are
I'd
included?
say about 500 in
Oh,
our
geez.
library, different little thingies. That's why, but we're not gonna, I would say, you're not gonna get all 500 because some of the equipment you just won't have for it. But there's a big library, and Claudia has got a vast imagination.
Okay, awesome.
And I like to spend money, so
Yes.
we need to buy anything. We can buy
Okay, then.
For that to Ramona, who doesn't like to spend a penny.
Yes, this school has money for extras, so.
We have good PTA. We've got good
Yes,
PTA. We've
yes.
got good peers.
Awesome.
So when you say that once a day session, there'll be 20 minutes, and so how many sensory activities did you say that you recommend for your daily?
You'll get a list of you'll get an ideal list of 4 or 5 exercises in them, but
Okay.
that's your ideal list. The idea is start from the top, and then when you run out of time, you stop where you left off. So maybe sometimes you'll have time to do 2, 3, sometimes a whole 5, sometimes just the 1.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, so this might seem like an odd question, but I know with behavior regulation, my question is specifically toward kids that exhibit feral children syndrome. Like, will that also be able to be regulated where they're going underneath? They're acting like cats and dogs. Is that successful?
Well,
Are you talking about something like dissociative disorder and those types of things?
Well, I can't diagnose, and it's too early to do that at elementary level, but I have been reading a lot, especially with a lot of these kids with the COVID, because they were taken away from society, that a lot of those children are starting to exhibit feral children because they don't have social skills, and they've been completely removed from everyone. And so it's a lot easier for parents to entertain with an iPad, and they learn animalistic features because it's maybe innate, maybe it's just what they're into, who knows? But for those children who would prefer to be completely independent underneath things, bark, growl, and lick.
well, if I can answer the question to that specific question of kids wanting to be in an enclosed space and be left alone, I would say it's ideal to do smell and touch, which is going to increase their dopamine and their serotonin, and they'll come out. I've worked, I don't know how many of you have worked with girls with Rett syndrome. So if you don't know at all, I'll just pass that example on the side. So I can't see if you raised your hands.
So I don't know, is there anyone here that's worked with Rett syndrome? I have a long time ago.
Well, to give it a short description, they are little girls that around the age of 2 start to degenerate. Their brain basically sort of melts away. They lose motor function. They are in a wheelchair around the age of 4. They cannot talk. They have difficulty swallowing and breathing. So that's, and then they stop degenerating, but that's where they are. And my work with that syndrome is my recent little girl in Switzerland who now is skiing in the Alps, and was basically, I caught her before she started to degenerate, so she did not lose. So that's one example. I've worked with kids with brain injury. My favorite right now, because I'm working with him presently, is a little boy who had to have half of his brain removed because of seizures. That surgery happened when he was 1, and everything he could do at 1, he kept. But one visible thing that remained was the arm on the side that doesn't have a brain, like the other side, was rigid along the body. No hope to ever move that arm. And mom had started the therapy to improve his behavior because he was really a pest, was spreading everything around the house. It was difficult for her, and she has several kids. And she called after 2 months therapy. She was a little bit in a bad mood. She said, well, his behavior is basically the same, but his arm is moving now. So that's the kind of thing that we hear about or see. The brain is the most magnificent thing that can do almost everything if we do the right prompts. We're not pushing the brain to do. We are following the kid, which is very important with what Kim was saying. We want them to feel good about themselves, love the environment, love the sounds instead of blocking their ears. And gradually, they love to be sitting and listening and learning and writing. So we hope to achieve that, help you get there, hopefully very quickly.
It also sounds like, I'm tearing up because I'm thinking of a student that, this would have been so wonderful for, Batten's
Oh.
disease. That, have you had any, success with students with Batten's?
I didn't hear the name of the disease, sorry.
Batten's disease?
Batten's disease. That's a new one for me.
Oh,
It's rare.
it's very rare. It's
Yeah.
it's a degenerative brain.
Well,
disease.
everything that is genetic or degenerative, or the brain is stronger than the most massive issue. I have worked, for example, with adults with Parkinson and dementia. So you bring a situation and you have a little person who's usually very strong, has a lot of determination. This picture is describing what is happening when you work with that kid and help his brain. You start with a minimal of connection in the brain, and of course the child cannot do anything really specific. Gradually those cells are going to grow new connections, and it's a very organic thing. We're not, like I said, pushing or forcing. The brain just does it because we are sending the messages that are helping. And the last picture is that 6 months later. Those are pictures from Mark Rosenzweig, who's basically my mentor in neuroscience. So I never consider, okay, no, we cannot do anything with that person, because if there's a brain in that person, then we have to, and we need to be ready to be surprised.
Love that.
Yes.
Love that.
You want, we have a little bit of time to show the meltdown thing.
Yes, please.
Yes. We want that.
It's part of the certification course that you guys are going to take. But I thought it would be a cool one to just show you the impact. Let's see, I'm going to play this.
Or run away.
I run away.
Next time.
Or throw things.
Never.
So
Oh,
let me see, make sure all the bullets are on the screen.
There's some teachers we can use this with. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, in brackets, it says adults, right? Help children and adults calm down and regain control of their thoughts and emotions. So if you know what a meltdown is, and I'm talking about the real meltdowns, I'm not talking about the ones where the kid looks at you from the corner of the eye to control the situation, okay? I'm talking about the kid who has lost it because he's overwhelmed, too many maybe sensory inputs, you know, something happened and it looks like nothing, but his emotion has the straw that breaks the camel's the proverbial camel's back. Something happens and you don't think, how could this have created such a meltdown? You don't realize that for the last 3 hours, he's been bothered by a whole bunch of things and it's led up to this point. So sometimes this technique that we show you can be used preventatively through the day, especially for the kids who are prone to have multiple meltdowns during the day. In the course, we go through maybe a little more than I need to go through right now, but we talk about the neurology of a meltdown. What happens in the brain when the emotion center, the limbic system inside the brain explodes? I want to go to the meat, to the fun stuff. It involves smell. And why smell? Claudia, do you want to talk about why we use the sense of smell to help with meltdowns?
Yes, because first, we know that it increases instantly the level of dopamine, which is control, which is sense of pleasure, memory, a lot of very good things. But instantaneously, you have an infusion of dopamine in the brain. And science has given us more information rather recently, in particular about the scent of strawberry. and telling us that it travels the fastest to the amygdala. So you have the scent goes into the nose, then reaches the olfactory bulbs that are just like different brains behind the nose. And at the end of those is the amygdala, where everything explodes. And so it just goes in there and soothes it. And nobody knows yet why that scent in particular calms down the activity in the amygdala. We are using it. I've been using it before the publications, and I'm continuing using it. So the scent of smell is also bringing good emotions, makes you feel happier and more in control. It has a great power on memory, but this child who is in distress is suddenly feeling better, but we have done something before. We want to show that. Is the video working here?
The video, I think, is going to work, yes.
Okay, that's the little boy is really having a tantrum. I suppose he doesn't want to go somewhere. So he's very upset with his mother. And what I want you to look is the intensity and basically count between the moment the scent comes close to his face and the moment he stops having a fit. So do you want to play that video now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, here it goes. It happened. Now you can count.
Sammy. Smell it.
And he's gonna say, I want to hold it.
Here, hold it, smell it.
We've seen that, and we have a few more videos of the impact. Here we only have the scent of strawberry. That was not either the worst tantrum that probably your kids throw sometimes in the classroom. So do you have the video that shows the elements?
You don't have time to go and grab a camera in real emergencies. I mean, what are the odds that we're going to get a video of a mom that captures a real powerful meltdown? Yeah, so for sure, this is probably not the worst meltdowns you've ever seen. And he started smelling the thing before it was brought up to his nose because of the intensity of the crying and because how close she was with Vile already. That was already entering into his nose from, at the very beginning of the video. And you could see that the meltdown was de-escalating pretty quickly.
So I want the picture of the very complicated equipment the school will have to buy. Do you have that?
No.
The strawberry and
sorry, I don't have that picture.
I do
sure.
have a question though about smelling the scents. Is there a correlation between smelling the scents and then children learning to overeat? Or,
yes, overeating is a condition, as part, and in fact, it's a serotonin issue, but the entire therapy is going to work on both.
Okay.
So do you have a Prader-Willi kid?
Well, no.
Okay.
I actually just came up with that question just because my little one, he actually has interoception issues. And as we were watching the scents, that was like the one time he would not throw fits ever since he was little is when I would cook. And so it could be the smell. So I was just wondering, is there a correlation between identifying a smell during a meltdown and overeating later in life? Just my own personal curiosity. That's really what went through my head. Like, oh, great. Now we're going to eat the strawberries, which we already are eating all of the strawberries. So it was just a real-time moment question that I just, in my head, that's
what cement is, but anyway, so that's.
Okay, so I wanted the picture. There is a piece of equipment that's crucial and is very complicated to acquire, and it is an ice pack. You will need either, you can have it in a lunchbox, you can have a few ice cubes in a Ziploc and in that lunchbox, whatever. What we are doing is if the child is still able to listen to you when he's having the fit, you can ask the kid to hold the bag of ice. Generally, they are not, they are on the floor. So you want to just place this very cold element on the arm, on the leg, on the hand, on the foot, whatever you can reach. And only for 2 seconds, because more than 2 seconds is pain. And that's really would not be our purpose. What happens when the brain receives the message of ice cold? Whatever was going on that was messy, overwhelming, anything, the brain stops all of that to process the emergency message. The brain of the child does not know we're going to do only 2 seconds, but the ice cold message says to the brain, we need to be ready to save the person. So it stops all, and you could almost see it with that little boy in the video. This overactivity is this disorder. You cannot talk to the kid. You cannot reason. There's nothing. It stops all of that. And at the same time, you bring the scent of strawberry. So you combined suddenly calming down, settling down the overactivity in the brain and improving the mood, making this kid feel better. We associate that once you have put down the ice for 2 seconds, you put it away and you start giving a soft back rub on his back, on his arm, wherever he lets you, and he will let you. That part is a serotonin infusion, if I can call it. Research tells us like soft touch increases production of serotonin in the brain. So here we go. That's our medication, right? So the smell of strawberry as soon as the tantrum is done and accompanied by a gentle back rub. So we call it gentle claw, like we have names for everything. And the power of that is typically within 5 seconds, your child is calm. And as Kim was saying, it's very beneficial if you know the child, you can see the tension starting to build up. You do the protocol right away, and he won't fall into the pit of fury and anger or whatever he is feeling at that moment or she is feeling. So it's preventative and it will help stopping the fit, but it will also, what parents and professionals tell us, it spaces the events. So a kid who was doing it every hour may do it every 2, and then maybe have it only once a day at home when he's getting dressed, or it works really well.
And we're officially 1 minute over.
Oh, sorry.
But I want to thank you for attending and participating with all your questions. That was really fun for us, and I hope it was instructive for you. Christine, do you want to, any parting comments? What do we do next?
No, I'm just so excited. I've seen all this before, but I'm so excited to share it. I just have goosebumps. So I'm just,
doing this
here
right
I
now.
am. I haven't met Claudia yet, so I want to meet Claudia. Hi, Claudia. It's good to meet you.
Hi.
Christine, I'm so excited about this. So
Uh-huh.
thank you.
You know, this is our dream, being in schools. Yeah.
Oh, and we want to thank you all, because it takes people like you, Christine, that, you know, latched onto this, and all the rest of you, that we can see the excitement. And this has been Claudie's dream for a very long time. So thank you all for helping to make it come true.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a lovely rest of your evening, ladies.
And you'll send the recording to Christine?
Yes, we will forward the recording to Christine, who can then in turn distribute it where needed.
Perfect, thank you.